So in this tutorial, we're going to learn the basics of setting up a static file web development server using Node.js. In future tutorials, we're going to learn the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and at the moment, knowing the hows and whys of Node.js isn't actually important. The important thing is to simply follow the process in this tutorial to get everything up and running. So before we set up our development web server, I should start by explaining why this is necessary. The main reason to use a web server is that without one, you cannot publish your website or web application to the World Wide Web. The other reason is that without a server, you cannot connect your website to a database. Additionally, you wouldn't be able to create or connect your website to what are called web services. A database is simply a tool that allows us to store data for later recall. A web service is an application that can transmit data over the internet so that your website or other websites can use that data. This is only possible when your site is being hosted on a web server. So understanding this, let's go ahead and set up our web server. Now there are various ways in which we can set up a web server, and there exists a plethora of different technologies that we can use to do this. Most of these use a programming language such as PHP, ASP, or Java. Now, since we're going to be focusing on front-end web development technologies, that means we're going to be learning JavaScript. And the good news is there exists a tool called Node.js that also uses JavaScript, and we can use this to create a web server. Hence, it's a technology that we can use that integrates nicely with our development flow. Now, I want to clarify one thing. Node.js is not strictly a web development tool. It's actually nothing more than a way to run JavaScript code outside of a web browser, which has been the traditional environment that JavaScript code has been run in. However, Node.js does have a repository of user-created modules that allow us to use Node.js for different things. And one of these things is to create a web server. So the first thing that we need to do is to go to the Node.js homepage so that we can download Node.js and install it. The install process is very simple. Just download the package and run the installer. Now, if you notice on the home page, it tells you how to create a web server. However, it doesn't tell you how to create a static file web server that allows you to access various website files. If you don't know what that means, don't worry. In our situation, it simply means that to get started, we're going to need to go through a few more steps. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to install a package called Express. Express is an add-on application to Node that is used exclusively as a web framework. Add-on applications like Express are called modules in Node, and they're accessible through a repository called the Node Package Manager at this URL. Here we can do a search for Express, and it appears. The installation instructions are on this page as well, but let's go through them together. So the way that we install Express is like this. First, we need to launch the command prompt or terminal. Then we need to type this command and hit return. Now, let's create a folder on the desktop called Development. Next, we need to go to this directory with the command prompt. We can do this using the cd command and then dragging the folder to the command prompt and hitting enter. We can now automatically generate all the files that we need with just 2 commands. The first is the express command, like this, then hit return. Then type npm install and hit return again. Then type npm start and hit return once more. Now in a web browser, go to the URL localhost 3000. A page should appear that says Welcome to Express. This tells us that we now have a working web server. So to use our new static file web server, we need to go to the folder titled Public. And from here on out, all you need to do is place any files you intend to run in this public folder. So let me give you a quick example. Here is a file called index.html. And in the URL, if you add the name of the file to the end of the URL, it will display that HTML file. Now this has been an example of how you can set up a static file web server using Node.js. Until next time, bye-bye.